Who is it that says that to perfect your interest, you have to take whatever identity that the government gives you and put a signature on it and put a silver coin to add value and to write all these fancy words on there and send it back to us. And then that's what releases all this money and changes your whole world. Who established that?
The easiest way to describe that one is, let's call it the elite, or whoever's even controlling the elite. Someone thought it would be a fantastic game to put together to prove those who are worthy versus those who are not worthy. So let's say just right around the Industrial Revolution, when there started to be massive amounts of, call it capital interests, being displayed all over the world, mankind's greed was very evident very quickly, and our propensity to do more damage than good was very evident. So let's just say that the game controllers kind of got together and they said, hey, let's put this system into place, and for those that figure out the system, they're worthy and they are deemed special, and they go get to live in a Cilium. I think that's the floating city. For those that don't perfect their interests and live a life of, I don't want to call simplicity, but they want to go live an imperfect life. Okay, for those who are desiring to live an imperfect life, we have this program for you. And for those in the middle, there's this program. So essentially, there is so much going on here. This whole system has been at play since the Babylonian days. You know, Scripture tells and people talk of the fact that Babylon has fallen. It may have fallen before, but we were tricked into volunteering to rebuilding it. We may have left Egypt once under a guy, I think his name was Moses, took us out of that slave, right? That slave mentality. And you know what? We were free until we were tricked to volunteer to go back to Egypt. So there's nothing new under the sun, right? And the Bible is telling us, hey, this isn't the first time this has happened, folks. But if you can prove yourself diligent, if you can prove yourself through obedience, that you're willing to have a good heart, lead a moral, righteous direction in life, you may be susceptible, or you may be a victim to blessings and milk and honey. Now, if you want to be a victim of milk and honey, that actually kind of sounds good.
So there's actually quite a few divisions then among us, depending on what path or choice we make.
Yeah, and really it's only quantum computing and beyond that could literally manage all this stuff and keep track of it. It is that extraordinary. It is that really beyond the scope of our imaginations, because when we were so easily tricked and deceived into being a volunteer slave to Egypt, what would give you the ability to even make the claim that you are blessed and you are empowered to see such bigger, crazier things when you can't even see what you're in right now? You're not going to see that big rainbow and unicorn world because you don't see the cage that you're wrapped in right now. Until you see the cage, you cannot see what's beyond the cage.
So you think you're free.
You think you're free.
You think you have choice.
Yes.
But
the illusion is so big, that shopping center is so large, you could literally walk around in it for a lifetime and not even really know you're in a shopping mall because it's that big. The illusion's that
Truman Show.
Yeah, the Truman Show, which actually I've never seen.
Wow.
Now think about true man. True man, means he's not acting in person, which means he's not a fiction. He's actually going to court as a true man. How do you? Again, Dean and I we used to say back in the day, and lots of the people that were following some of the stuff we were doing, you know, you'd walk into court and you'd say, I'm a man. Well, that's pretty self-evident, and even a lunatic could say that, and it would be acceptable. Okay, so now that you're a man, now what are you going to do? So it's the next thing out of your mouth. And really, if you just went to the next thing out of your mouth without even saying the first thing, you would have shown the judge a lot more competence instead of stating the obvious. People that'll start a conversation with, or hey, pay attention to me because look at me stating the obvious. You know, there's lots of those people out there. That's like, okay, yeah, you want points for that? Great, like that's pretty obvious. You didn't even need to say it. Point is, when you roll into court, you're stating a bunch of stuff by not stating a bunch of stuff. Don't roll into court and say I'm a man. Don't roll into court and say I'm a sovereign, or don't roll in and say I'm a free man. Yeah, no. Don't do any of that stuff. Talk in a language that court understands. Walk in there and say, well, maybe perhaps as the protected purchaser, Your Honor, I'd love to enter a plea of abatement to the premises generally considered to completely stop this legal conduct in its tracks. And then the judge is going to say, what are you talking about? And then you can start dropping equity. And already the jurisdiction of the court is already starting to change. Because as soon as you present the evidence to the judge that, hey, I have a perfected security interest, part of the game, Your Honor, part of that game that I was born into, and even though I had no idea, I came to figure it out, and I came to understand it. I've proven myself worthy. I've walked through the valley of death and feared no evil and all that other good stuff. I've walked into the lion's den. Actually, they're pretty cool cats. I've walked out of the furnace. No problemo, because we know how to not act as a person now. And you instantly stop acting as the person as soon as you assign the person to the secured party, the successor in interest, the minister of finance. That's who's supposed to manage the animal that came from their zoo. Give them their crazy cat back. That cat will make them money in the background. They're happy. And then we get to use the fruits of their labor. Kind of sounds like the tables just got switched. Yes. Maybe, do you want to leave Egypt this time or do you want to control it? I don't know. It's up to you, Pharaoh. Whatever you want to do.
Interesting. Okay, so again, these people then, this was just all part of their, okay, we're going to make them add value, which is kind of like a deposit to activate the account. Sure. They have to show up and say, yeah, actually, this is not me. Yeah. You tricked me. Yeah. Nice try.
But here I am. So you're proving your competency. And let's just call it the controlling faction is actually looking for future members that prove their worthiness. It's just another group. It's just another club. And up the ladder you go. But when you're doing it for the right reasons, and the game recognizes that. And as soon as you input certain information into the game is going to recognize you as a new player. Oh, a new player just stepped onto the court. Who's this guy or girl? I don't know, but they sure look like they know what they're doing. The game completely changes. The team that used to kick your ass all day long, now you just walked in and you started kicking their ass in a loving way, of course. But so yeah, it's just this game was set up to separate classes of persons. What did this class get to? What did that class get to? And it's like a coffee filter for your intelligence. They're just seeing at what level did people start to wake up. Even though we were bombarded with health issues, whether it's chemicals falling in the skies or the stuff we're eating and the stuff we're drinking and the stuff we're breathing, take all the chemicals out of the equation that's designed to do all this harm to us. We still availed. Under all these extreme adverse conditions that the darkness could bring, we were still able to avail ourselves and prove to the Creator, yeah, this model number is pretty good. I'd put this one back into circulation if I were you, Father, because we were a pretty kick-ass group.
Now, at the same time, how were we supposed to know any better? How did people get onto this, that they were being tricked? Just based on how letters were spelt in your name.
Yeah, unless you were basically kind of, I don't want to say chosen, but let's just say you were chosen to be on a different path than everybody else, you would never have been looking for these oddball nuances or all this esoteric kind of stuff. And if you don't believe any of that stuff exists, well, then there's no harm, no foul. But for those that do believe in things, after a while, they start to see them. And maybe with enough repetition and enough exposure, there's enough things hiding back here that's going to lead someone who only believed to start to know stuff. And the deeper and the farther you go into that rabbit hole, the more knowledge that you come to appreciate and have and develop and start to utilize in your life, it just attracts further knowledge, intelligence, wisdom, emotional, spiritual, physical, everything just starts to align, which is coincidentally, we just went through an epic time in history, did we not? So isn't it all fitting that a lot of this stuff is prophecy out of the Bible as well? Whether you believe in the Bible and God and all that stuff doesn't matter to the point where the legal system does. And if you don't believe in God, but yet you believe in your country and you're going to serve a country, and you don't know the difference between the two, that's telling the Creator, well, at least you were capable of believing in something. Now, where did I fail so that you didn't believe in me? Maybe you can actually teach me. Maybe your raw ignorance can actually teach me something as a creator. And maybe I won't even put that gene sequence into the next round because it clearly doesn't work. Or are you just playing games? Or are you just being a narcissist asshole? Like, what's going on here? But we're here to help you. We're here to provide as much wisdom and clarity as we can. And yes, we don't have all the answers. And yes, the system provides very vague answers, very ambiguous answers that you need to, you better bring a shovel and a wheelbarrow to deal with because there's so much going on. And again, Dean and I'll be the first to, agree here that we're all a part of something great. Some of us are at incredibly high levels of understanding and wisdom and comprehension of this stuff, and people are just getting turned on to it now. They're just getting started now. So for those, those mega heroes in the background who have been in the trenches for years and have done some incredible things that most people wouldn't even believe because, they weren't there. And unless you were there, the effect of the story seems to kind of lose a lot of its significance. For again, the hardcore veterans that have been doing this stuff for a long time and want to get into some really, really deep equity stuff and some really, really deep concepts and attributes and the histories and where all these things came from and how this act really means this and how that transfers and converts to that, of like, this is still meant to be simple for simple people. So if you want to go to that level, great. And I'm here to do nothing but encourage and provide smiles and hearts for everybody based on the work and ethic and the determination that Dean and I and everybody that we're kind of running into nowadays, right? Like everyone has come into this incredible position in life that we never really thought possible. And we're seeing incredible things, dynamic things happening right before our very eyes. People, let's just remember we're one big team. So for those that still want to throw stones at people like us, come on, man. Let's use your rocks for a better purpose. Throw them at me. I mean, I'm going to catch them and maybe just recycle them, turn them into something else.
Transmute them.
Transmute them. I mean, like, I'll find a purpose for rocks. I don't care. I'm an artist. I'll do that. So we're here to help everybody. And again, if we don't have all the answers, for people to contribute, for people to come forward and say, hey, look what I found, or hey, you missed this part, or hey, you know what? We're subject and open to all those gifts. We're not born with all of it. Again, this is a big team.
And thank you to everyone that's really reaching out and coming together in groups and collaborating and bringing your forms all together. It's just been beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and this collective energy, you will fall in love with it. And for those who are probably listening to this, you're already feeling it because you felt it maybe from communications I've posted or from some of the other earlier videos I've done, or even we all know that Dean created something incredible. So this is all the same energy in the background, and the fact that all those hardcore followers kind of got left as a cliffhanger, this thing never had the final closure it was meant to. Well, now this is finally achieving the closure because we are understanding for the very first time this all comes down to control or possession. Everything else, as soon as you relinquish possession, that means the trustees will do everything you need to do. So do I really, really, really need to know all that hardcore equity stuff? No. All you really needed to know how to do is put your signature on a certificate and go find the Scotch tape. And really, if you had to go steal a silver coin from your best friend because they owe you a favor, whatever it takes, he'll understand. Go get that valuable consideration, put it on the certificate, and change your life. That happens the moment that event can now be recorded. If I haven't done that, I actually can't go to court and tell a judge, yeah, I did it. The judge is, what's the first question the judge asks? Well, can I see it? And what's my answer? Well, I haven't done it yet. And then the judge is going to say, well, you might want to make another appointment. Like, that's just, simple grade 3 level stuff. So come into court prepared, which is why, as a segue to the video that we were talking to the gentleman in Australia about, when you're rolling into court, you're proving to the judge that you were competent enough to pass title to a legal escheated estate. When he sees that, you're not normal. You're like instantly thrown into the special bucket. And he'll throw a couple more curveballs at you just to test you. But pretty soon, you're going to have full control and command of that courtroom. Why? Because it's no longer what you thought it was. The venue has changed. And the plaintiff brings the jurisdiction. The plaintiff brings a cool, kick-ass new jurisdiction because he has a certificate that actually certifies his ability and enables him to do that. If you don't have that perfected interest attached to that special certificate, you ain't got the power to walk into court and take control. This is what took Dean and I and countless others 15 years to figure out. And some of us are still banging our heads against the wall, which is why it was so simple at the end of the day. Hide the remedy in their back pocket, confuse them, and they will never know how to perfect it. And literally, for generations, people have been walking around with this thing. How many people have actually
protecting it?
How many people have actually figured out how to do it?
Locking it away somewhere safe.
Somewhere safe. Like literally, we could. Like I've been doing this a long time with Dean, and I could probably say that less fingers on my one hand of people. That's a good indicator that has pulled this stuff off and actually gotten, let's just call it the remedy that they'd prayed for. And that's the other cool thing, right? Like that. The relief and the remedy I'm looking for is not the same as the other guy that's claimed to have gone through the Stargate and has full access to his treasury account. That guy's plan, or that woman's plan, is set up for them. Their journey is not my journey. Just because you have access to the treasury account, What are you doing with it now? Are you frivolously spending it on silly things, or are you doing, mind bending, policy changing things, or are you just going up into the hills and living with the goats? We all each have our own paths, and we're not really here to judge each other's path. That's not what this was about. We're here to help each other get from the living of the dead. Sorry, that was an oxymoron. We're going to go from the land of the dead to the living, is what I was trying to say. And that is such a substantial difference between two realms. It's almost incalculable in how valuable the difference is when you're on the side of the good versus the side of the dark. And literally, it's the difference between life and death. And it's in our back pocket, and we can effectively endorse it and do something with it and get there right now. And the fact that we're only not doing it is because of our ignorance, our lack of knowledge. And in the book, it talks about, my people shall suffer only because of their lack of knowledge. Sorry, they shall perish. Right?
Even better.
Yeah, not so much.
Let's go.
Yeah.
He's got an upgrade.
Yeah. So, we weren't meant to suffer like this, and they provided us the remedy to instantly leave Babylon and Egypt, but they just left it up to our own devices and Satan's tricks to prove whether you're good enough or not. Really, at the end of the day, I'm not here to prove whether you're good. You are.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you, Darren, as always.